George Washington. You know the name, right? Of course you do. But what about the title Father of his Country? We hear it all the time, but it's so easy to just gloss over what it really means. It's not just about being the first guy in the big chair. Nope, it's about a whole series of choices, moments that literally shaped a new nation. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into the real story behind that title, and you'll see why it might be more important now than ever before.
When we picture Washington, we usually think of the guy on the horse, leading the army, right, the brilliant military commander. But honestly, that's just scratching the surface of his story. His true impact goes way, way beyond the battlefield.
And yeah, of course, he was the first president. Huge deal. But his legacy isn't just about the office he held. It's about the foundation he built, the very DNA of the country. So, what's the real story here? Let's get into it.
And that really gets us to the heart of it. Father of his country isn't some cute nickname that came up with later. It reflects the absolutely fundamental role he played in the birth of the United States. So how on earth did one man come to embody an entire nation?
This title, it really does sum it all up. You've got perseverance, that grit to keep going when things looked completely hopeless. You've got civic duty, this idea of serving the public good, not your own ambition. And then there's national unity, trying to stitch together 13 very different, very stubborn colonies into one country. These are the key ingredients, and we're going to unpack every one of them.
All right, here's the game plan. We're going to start with his early days, then dive into the crucible of war, and look at the single, mind-blowing decision that basically defined a nation. From there, we'll see how he built the presidency from nothing and what his final warnings mean for all of us today.
Okay, first up, let's look at the man before the legend. You know, Washington wasn't just born a general. He was shaped, he was hardened in the tough world of colonial America.
As you can see here, his path was anything but a straight line. He started out as a land surveyor, which, funnily enough, gave him this incredible understanding of the American terrain, something that would be absolutely crucial later. But the real game changer was the French and Indian War. That's where he got his crash course in leadership, in failure, and in the messy politics of trying to get people to work together.
And boy, would he need every ounce of that experience for the absolute mammoth task that was coming next, leading the American Revolution.
I mean, just look at this matchup for a second. It's almost funny. On one side, you have the Continental Army, a ragtag bunch of farmers, half-starved, with no supplies and constantly on the brink of just giving up. And on the other side, the British military, the single most powerful, well-trained, well-equipped fighting force on the planet. On paper, this isn't a fight. It's a joke.
So how in the world did they win? Well, it came down to Washington's character. He wasn't necessarily the most brilliant military tactician out there. His real superpower was just pure, uncut stubbornness. His resilience when everyone else was ready to quit, his incredible ability to inspire loyalty in freezing, starving men, and his own personal commitment that just never, ever broke.
And this is the perfect example. By the end of 1776, the revolution was basically dead. So Washington takes this unbelievably desperate gamble. He crosses a frozen river on Christmas night to launch a surprise attack on Trenton. The victory itself, it was kind of small, but its impact, massive. It was the shot in the arm the revolution desperately needed, renewing hope across the colonies.
And then there was Valley Forge. This wasn't a battle. It was a brutal test of human survival. We're talking thousands of soldiers dying, not from bullets, but from disease, from starvation, from the cold. And through it all, Washington stayed. He stayed with his men, he shared their suffering, and he refused to let the cause die. He was the glue holding that whole fragile army together.
But here's the thing, winning the war was only half the struggle. What happened next was, arguably, even more important for the future of the country. Washington was now a living legend, the most powerful man in America. And what he did with that power, that was his defining moment.
So just think about this for a second. Throughout all of history, what happens when a victorious general has the absolute loyalty of his army? What do? They take power. They become a king, an emperor, a dictator. That's the script. And the path was wide open for Washington to do just that.
He didn't take it. In a move that absolutely stunned the entire world, he formally resigned his military commission, got on his horse, and went back to his farm at Mount Vernon. He just went home.
This might just be the most revolutionary thing he ever did. Think about it. In an era of kings, a general just gives up power. He hands it back to the people.
This one single act established the bedrock principle of American democracy, that the military answers to civilians, not the other way around. He proved that in this new nation, no one man was above the republic.
But, of course, the story doesn't end there. His retirement didn't last long. The new nation was kind of floundering under its first government, the Articles of Confederation, and once again, the country turned to Washington.
And so, in 1789, he gets called back to service. He was elected the first president of the United States. And get this, it wasn't a close election. It was unanimous. Every single elector voted for him. Can you even imagine that happening today? It just shows you the insane level of trust the entire country placed in him.
Now, as the first president, there was no instruction manual. He was literally making it all up as he went. He knew every single thing he did would set a precedent. So he created the cabinet, not because he had to, but because he knew he wasn't the smartest guy on every topic and needed advice. He steered the young country away from all the wars in Europe, arguing they just needed time and space to grow. And maybe most important of all, after 2 terms, he just walked away. He proved that power wasn't a lifetime appointment and that it could be transferred peacefully.
And this all brings us to his final, enduring legacy. As he was getting ready to leave public life for good, Washington had one last piece of advice for the nation he'd helped build. Really, it was a warning.
In his farewell address, he begged the country to avoid deep, bitter political divisions. He warned that if people became more loyal to their party than to their country, these parties would become potent engines, tools for ambitious people to basically hijack the government and take power from the people. Wow, does that sound at all familiar?
So, at the end of the day, Washington's legacy is so much bigger than just a list of battles won or laws signed. He didn't just start a government. Through his character, his choices, and his unbelievable commitment to putting principle before power, he gave life to the very idea of America.
And that brings us right back to now. Washington's warning about division feels like it could have been written this morning. So I guess the question for us is, in a world that feels so divided, what can we learn from the guy who built a nation by choosing unity over power? And what does it really mean to be a steward of a country today?